Money Roots is made possible by the support of our sponsor, Rooted Planning Group. Are you ready to take control of your financial future? Look no further than Rooted Planning Group, your trusted partner in financial well-being. At www.rootedpg.com, you'll discover a wealth of resources and expertise to help you thrive financially. Rooted Planning Group specializes in personalized financial planning, investment management, and retirement strategies. They understand that every financial journey is unique, and they're here to guide you every step of the way. With a team of experienced advisors, Rooted Planning Group is committed to helping you cultivate a secure and prosperous future. Visit www.rootedpg.com today to learn more about how Rooted Planning Group can help you grow your money roots. Welcome to Money Roots, the podcast where personal finance gets personal. Hosted by Amy Irvine, the CEO of Rooted Planning Group. Each week, Amy and her team dig deep into the world of finance, making it more approachable and understandable for everyone, no matter where you are on your financial journey. From savings and investments to budgeting and planning, Money Roots brings you practical advice, inspiring stories, and expert insights. They believe that everyone has the potential to grow a healthy financial future, and they're here to help you nurture it. So, whether you're a financial guru or just starting to plant the seeds of your financial knowledge, this is the place for you. Get ready to uncover the tools and strategies that can help you thrive financially. So, without further ado, let's dive into today's episode of Money Roots.
Hello, podcast listeners. Amy Irvine here, CEO and founder of Rooted Planning Group. It's spring, officially has sprung, and we have some great information that we think is going to be really helpful for you to decide if you want to do some spring cleaning on your finances. Maybe start with the organization side and what documents do you need to keep on file. Everything I'm sharing here today will be available in a handy dandy little handout that we'll have out on our website, and we'll connect that up in the show notes if you'd like to pull it down. It can't go without mentioning that it is tax season. And since you're already knee deep in that particular topic, one of the things that a lot of people ask us is, how long should I actually keep the returns? Typically, we suggest about 3 years of state and federal tax returns and supporting documents on file. Those supporting documents include things like, your W-2, your 1099, perhaps your year-end bank statements, investment accounts, those sorts of things. Now, there are some states out there that you may need to keep tax returns just a little bit longer, but from a federal perspective, we're saying about 3 years. Now, if you think you forgot income, now this is kind of a crazy thing, but if you think you forgot income to report, then if it's more than 25% of your gross income, you want to keep 6 years. I know, why would you forget to report your income? But I'm providing you with the information that we receive from the IRS. If you are claiming a loss of worthless securities or bad debt deduction, you definitely want to keep them a little bit longer, about 7 years. So while you're preparing your tax return, you may want to take one that's a little bit on the older side, and we would suggest creating a shred bin or a shred pile or something along the lines that is shred oriented. A lot of times on or around April 15th, some of the local banks and credit unions will offer a shred day. So if you have a box where you can put some of these documents securely, in the meantime, you could throw an old tax return or a series of older tax returns right in that box. Also, if you've made taxable gifts or received any kind of inheritance, you would probably want to keep the 709 that was filed or the 8971 issued to you permanently in your records. All right, let's talk healthcare documents. Now, I personally keep things by years. This is how I organize my system. And I am an electronic person, so I'm the type of person that wants to keep everything. Like if something happened in 2024, I want to keep it all in 2024. And that includes taxes, but also any healthcare related documents. Anything that I have that is healthcare related, such as an HSA, medical expenses. If you're on Medicare, you may want to keep your Medicare noticed at least a year. You may want to try to put that with your tax documents anyways. It might be supportable documents. If you've enrolled an employer drug plan and you're on Medicare, you absolutely want to keep that because you need to prove that you had credible coverage if you ever do enroll later on a Part D plan and you are trying to avoid the penalty associated with that. You also, if you have a family member that is applying for Medicaid, perhaps due to a long-term care expense, super important to keep those documents for a period of 5 years to support your application because they're usually a 5-year look-back period on that. When it comes to your legal documents, this is super important information too. I think I've said super important 4 or 5 times now, but sorry about that. Legal documents, if you are a U.S. citizen, then you want to keep a copy of your Social Security card, birth certificate, and passport, the original ones. I suggest that you keep them in a locked fireproof vault and let somebody know where those documents are. And if you're a foreign national, keep all documents related to the entrance in the United States, such as passport, green card, I-94. Those are permanent records that you should keep. Even if they've been reissued, I would suggest that you keep those documents and keep them locked again in a secure vault, fireproof, and let somebody know where those documents are and what the combination is or where the key is located. If you have estate planning documents such as a will, a trust, a power of attorney, a healthcare proxy, a living will, any beneficiary designation, store those originals also in that nice safe place. Consider having copies of all of the documents that I've mentioned in a secure location where other people might have access to it, but especially your healthcare proxy and your power of attorney, especially your healthcare proxy. And if you're going to be traveling, have it in a place where you could get to that possibly remotely. If you're currently married, you want to keep your marriage certificate. Certainly if you're divorced, you probably are going to need your divorce papers at some point in time for something random. Both of those are going to be needed for possible name of change, proof of marriage, proof of divorce, anything like that. And if you have a prenup, all of that should be kept in that same location. And if you've ever served in the military, please keep your military discharge papers available so that somebody knows where that is. And I know a lot of people don't have safe deposit boxes anymore, but if you do, please let somebody know where you have that safe deposit box. It's important to know from which financial institution they're working with. Those are all documents that you want to keep permanently. If you have debt or asset related documents, so this is another question we get a lot of, how long should I keep my investment accounts or my bank statements? Definitely keep your most current statement. Absolutely. Whether it's paper or electronic, you should keep them. And I always recommend that you keep your year-end statement with your tax return. I think it's a great place to have all of those annual things together. And if you owned investments before 2012, then you may need to keep some of the documents on purchases and sales that you made. Prior to 2012, custodians were not required to track cost basis. So if we don't have access to some of that historical information, we don't know what you necessarily paid for it. They're called non-covered investments. And in the event, if you haven't sold them and you sell them in the future, the 1099 consolidated or 1099 asset distribution may not show us what the actual cost basis was, and we'll have to go digging through that information. If we don't have it, we have to do best guess, and that might mean that you pay more in taxes than you should have. If you have any kind of retirement account, make sure that you keep documentation on any contributions and withdrawals, especially to IRAs. It's a form called 5498. Again, keep that with your tax return, but if they were non-deductible contributions, please save those permanently, as we're going to need them to go back and calculate how much of your IRA distribution in the future is taxable and how much of it is not. Because if you didn't get the tax deduction, you don't have to pay tax on it in the future. And if you ever made a Roth conversion, you need to keep a record of that as well. If you're a small business owner, you want to keep a copy of your federal EIN number. This is something you should keep permanently in a secure location, as well as make sure that it's provided to all of the organizations that need it. Your tax preparer, make sure it's in an important location people know where to get to. Certainly the formation of the organization, any sort of owner agreements and business licenses. Also, any payroll asset records, such as purchases and sales invoices, deeds, titles, employee employee benefits that are there, employee records, all of that stuff needs to be maintained permanently. And if you have any debts, such as student loans, mortgages, you should keep the loan documents until the loan is paid off, and then make sure you keep the documentation that the loan has been fully paid. A lot of organizations have gone to 100% electronic filing. This happened to me when my car loan was paid off. I never got a lien release from the financial institution. So when I reached out to them, they said, we just send it to the county. We don't necessarily send you anything. Or maybe it wasn't the county, but they said it was electronically available or something. And so they told me I could have a copy if I wanted it. And they sent it to me electronically. And I, of course, said, yes, I wanted a copy of that. So pay attention to when those loans are paid off so that you then can have a copy of that on file. If you own any property, just keep the deeds and the settlement statements, bill of sale, anything like that. You want to keep that documentation showing any related fees that were capitalized on file if you did decide to sell. And again, any releases or titles, you should keep that permanently. Great place to keep that is maybe right next to the estate planning documents in your system. Going back to the one thing I forgot to mention is if you were self-employed and you deducted any home office expenses, please keep all the receipts for any home office. It can be electronically, but utility bills, mortgage statements, any of that to prove that you have that home office deduction. Most of the time, we don't suggest that you need to keep some of that stuff. But if you're writing off some tax liability because of reducing, I should say, that tax liability because of that, you want to be able to retain that information or obtain it if there's ever a question. So even if you don't want to keep the physical receipts, you should at least keep them electronically. And if you have any home improvements, keep receipts or a ledger that documents and a ledger, I should say, that documents those, because you may be able to adjust up your cost basis of your property if you ever sell the property in the future, which would lower potentially the taxable amount of the sale. And if you own real property in multiple states, keep detailed records proving which state you lived in for the majority of the year. That way we know, how to say which state it was your residency, which state you lived in, how many days you were in those states, all of that sort of stuff. A few other bits of documentation that you probably want to keep is if you have a higher education degree, your college, I would say diplomas, you might want to keep a copy of those, any completed coursework. I still have, which cracked me up when I found it the other day, I still have a copy of my final transcripts, all 3 times actually that I went to college. I have a final copy of my transcripts. One of them was from 1992. It was like a carbon copy. It was hysterical. But I did keep it. I also scanned it so that it's electronically preserved. But I have it in with my degree in the safe that we have, so that if we ever needed an original copy for some reason, I can't imagine why, but it's there. And if you have your insurance policies, keep your most current policies on file, either electronically again or a copy in your vault. Definitely is something that is important. I always keep a list of those contacts in my phone too. So if I ever need to call them, then I know, I can just look them up right on my phone and be able to contact our agents if we need it. And if you're currently employed, keep any contract signed, including non-solicit, non-completed agreements. It's really critical that you have all of those signed agreements. A few years ago when I changed employer, I had to really dig. That was an area that I would have rated myself a D+ on, because I found a lot of variations and versions of the agreement, but it was really hard for me to find the actual signed agreement. So pretty important that if you ever need to go back to those, that they are available for you. So we will post this on our website as well as in the show notes, because I know it was a lot of information that I shared with you. But as you start your spring cleaning, I'm sure all of you are excited to head into spring. As you start your spring cleaning, maybe this list is something that can help you declutter both your financial life and your household all in one. Thanks for listening, everyone. We hope that you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, please make sure to like it and share it with your friends, as well as the resources that are available. And if you have spare moments, we'd love it if you hopped on over to iTunes or whatever your listening devices and rated us so that more people can find us just like you did. Thank you, everyone.
You've been listening to Money Roots, your go-to podcast for making personal finance accessible and approachable. Thanks for joining us today. Amy and her team have enjoyed guiding you through the roots of your financial journey. Remember, whether you're planting new seeds of financial knowledge or nurturing the growth of your existing financial plans, Money Roots is here to support you every step of the way. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and visit our website at www.rootedpg.com/podcasts for more resources. And of course, subscribe to Money Roots wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. A big thank you to the sponsor, Rooted Planning Group, for making this show possible. At Rooted Planning Group, they're committed to helping you cultivate a thriving financial future. Until next time, keep growing your money roots.